Welcome back everybody to another one in my aviation history series, and today we're going to be at episode 43 of my history on the RCAF. In today's video we're going to be looking at 439 Squadron. From its start in World War II as a home defense unit to today as a combat support unit, 439 has a pretty long and varied career. And as always, before we get too far into the video, my name is Sean and this is Sean's Aviation. 439 Squadron was formed as number 123 Squadron on January 14th of 1942 at RCAF Station Rockcliffe as an Army Cooperation Training Unit. It was initially equipped with Lysanders, but was quickly augmented by a small number of Grumman Goblins. On February 12th, the advance party from the unit began to relocate to Debert, Nova Scotia, and the aircraft followed on February 24th. Not long after arriving on station, a number of ensigns arrived to help pilots with long-range cross-country training. The unit's time at Debert was filled with dive bombing training, mock attacks on the Army using flower bombs, tactical reconnaissance exercises, supply dropping tests, photographic missions, cross-country flights, artillery reconnaissance shoots, and flights for the training of radar locator crews. In July of 1942, the unit began to train Army officers in the art of air support, the precursor to forward air controllers. In October, the unit sent a detachment to Sydney, Nova Scotia, and began carrying out harbour entrance patrols from dawn till dusk, their first taste of quote-unquote action. On November 10th, 2 Harvards arrived, and this spelled the end of the unit's time with the Lysander. By the end of the month, 2 Hurricanes arrived, and the pilots eagerly began training on the single-seat type. In January of 1943, a number of Bolingbrookes arrived, and this brought the unit's complement up to 5 types. Starting in June, the Lysanders and the Bolingbrookes were sent away, and the unit focused on training with the Hurricanes and Harvards, with the ensigns used as squadron hacks. On October 14th, it was announced that the unit would be sent overseas to help build up resources for the coming invasion of the European continent. The unit officially disbanded on October 31st, and the personnel began the trip overseas. The unit was reformed on December 31st as 439 Squadron at RAF Wellingore, and it was assigned the squadron code 5V, with the first aircraft, Hurricane Mark IVs, arriving in January. This is a type that the pilots were well acquainted with. On January 8th, the unit moved to Air Scotland and began training in earnest with the latest combat techniques. While they were in Scotland, they began to receive the Typhoon Mark 1B, the aircraft type they would operate for the remainder of the war. On March 18th, the unit relocated to RAF Hearn, and all the Hurricanes had left the unit by April. The unit's first operational mission took place on March 27th when 4 Typhoons took part in a fighter sweep over the Cherbourg Peninsula. On April 2nd, the unit moved to Funtington. April 13th brought the first offensive mission, with 7 Typhoons were sent on a mission to bomb V1 launching sites in northern France. On April 19th, the squadron relocated once again, this time to Hearn, in preparation for the assault on the continent. On D-Day, June 6th, the unit was tasked with a maximum effort armed reconnaissance. Later in the day, near Caen, a column of tanks was spotted and heavy damage was inflicted after many strafing runs. In total, the unit flew 28 sorties throughout the day and dropped 16 tons of bombs. Very quickly after D-Day, due to the unit's need to be close to the front lines, they relocated to the continent. On June 27th, they landed at their first base, which was B9 in La 30, France, and they followed the front lines as they moved east, closer to Berlin. The bases they were located at are as follows. Now, as mentioned, B9 La 30, France was the first one on June 27th. On August 31st of 1944, it was B24 at Saint-André, France. September 3rd of 1944, they moved to B48 Glisay, France. September 7th, 1944 was B58 Malsbrook, Belgium. September 25th of 1944, B78 Eindhoven, Netherlands. March 30th of 1945, B100 Koch, Germany. April 22nd of 1945 was B150 Hunstead, Germany. And finally, on May 29th of 1945, their final base, B166 in Flensburg, Germany. Now, the months after D-Day, when the weather cooperated, were spent attacking transportation targets, cutting rail lines, and hunting armored vehicles. In March of 1945, the unit participated in Operation Market Garden, the crossing of the Rhine River with over 500 tons of bombs, 40,000 rounds of ammunition expended in the days leading up to the crossing. The unit flew their last operational mission on May 4th of 1945 when 7 Typhoons flew a shipping strike in Kiel Bay. During World War II, the unit flew 4,206 operational hours across 3,996 sorties. It was credited with 11 enemy aircraft destroyed, 1 probable, and 9 damaged. It dropped 2,108 tons of bombs and was credited with 360 rail cuts, 6 bridges destroyed, 237 motor vehicles destroyed with 321 damaged, 17 tanks destroyed with 13 damaged, 5 locomotives destroyed with 92 damaged, 65 trains destroyed with 306 damaged, and 10 barges destroyed with 27 damaged. It suffered 41 aircraft lost, with 19 pilots killed, 9 missing, 6 POWs, and 3 who evaded capture. The unit was reactivated on September 1st of 1951 at CFB Uplands as a fighter unit. It was assigned the squadron code IG and received their first aircraft, Sabre Mark IIs, that same month. They were formed as part of the expansion of the RCAF required in order to fulfill the NATO requirements in Europe. As such, the unit relocated to RAF North Luffenham on May 30th of 1952 as part of Operation Leapfrog 1. This was the first of 4 Leapfrog missions, and you can see my video on Operation Leapfrog above. By July, the unit began to practice rocket and air-to-air gunnery, and starting in 1953, a number of unit pilots began tours with the USAF in Korea, gaining invaluable real combat experience that could be passed on to other pilots. In March of 1955, the unit relocated to Marville, France, and re-equipped with the Sabre Mark V. Gunnery practice and live rocket firing continued at ranges in Morocco, and the unit partook in many official and unofficial visits to other European countries. In July of 1956, the unit re-equipped with the Sabre Mark VI, and 439 Squadron was considered the best dogfighting unit in Europe during this time. Not just in Canada, but of all air forces in Europe at this time. It was a rare day when a 439 Mark VI Sabre was bested in the skies over Europe. In 1962, the unit deployed to Greece for an 8-day exhausting maximum effort NATO exercise. With the drawdown of the Sabre in RCAF service, the unit was disbanded on November 1st of 1963, but stood back up on March 2nd of 1964, still at Marville, with the CF-104. They were tasked with low-level strike reconnaissance missions and trained hard for this mission profile. On April 1st of 1967, the unit moved to Lahr when all the bases in France were shut down, and on February 1st of 1968, the unit was absorbed into the new CAF. In 1971, 439 Squadron moved to Baden-Solingen as a tactical fighter unit. During the CF-104 years, the squadron began to participate in Tiger Meets, annual gatherings of various Air Force units that have tigers as their mascot. In 1969, one of 439's aircraft was painted in full-color tiger stripes, and going forward, the unit was famous for painting the aircraft in these markings. The unit disbanded in November of 1983 when the CF-104 was retired from service, but reactivated 1 year later, still at Baden-Solingen, this time equipped with the CF-18. 439 continued to be the vanguard of the RCAF in Europe with the CF-18 and continued to participate in the various exercises and training missions that took place. When the Gulf War broke out, 439 was tasked with sending both pilots and airframes to the Middle East to take part in that conflict. During the CF-18 years, the 439 continued to participate as well in Tiger Meets, and at one time had a CF-18 painted in full tiger stripes, albeit overall gray versus full color. In early 1993, after it was decided to draw down the RCAF presence in Europe after the fall of the Soviet Union, 439 was disbanded as a CF-18 unit in Europe, and their aircraft dispersed to other units. Almost immediately after this, the unit was reactivated at CFB Bagotville as a combat support unit, flying the CH-146 Griffin. They are tasked with immediate support in the case of an accident with one of the CF-18s based at Bagotville. They can also be tasked with support of local search and rescue duties if required. The unit is constantly training for these roles and routinely partake in exercises with other RCAF SAR assets, the Coast Guard, as well as civilian SAR agencies. The unit has also been tasked with support of domestic missions following natural disasters such as floods and forest fires. 439 continues to carry on the legacy of the Tiger Meets, routinely painting their CH-146 Griffins in Tiger markings, and the yellow search and rescue base markings is a natural canvas for these markings. Now, with the CF-18s going to be replaced with F-35s in the coming years, there's going to still be a need for combat search and rescue at the base in Bagotville. So hopefully that means 439 Squadron will not be going anywhere anytime soon. And as well, there are plans to replace the CH-146 Griffin in the coming years with a next generation helicopter platform, whatever that might be. So again, it'll be interesting to see this unit also grow and expand as it moves into the future. Now, along with such a long and storied career, 439 Squadron has served faithfully with the RCAF over the years and hopefully into the future. And on that note, thank you for watching, and we'll see you all next time.